Hello, my name is Samantha, and I am going to be taking reading prompts and turning them into stitching prompts because I don't stitch very much during the summer, but it's October now, and I'm starting to work my way back into the habit of stitching. And what's better than a few prompts and challenges to help you do something like that? So, I, in addition, of course, to FlossTube, also like watching Booktube videos. At this time of year on Booktube, there are lots of great videos about books to read for fall and October, specifically for spooky season, books you want to read by the end of the year, a lot of great like readathons and challenges that are coming out now for end of the year reading. And you know what? There's end of the year stitching too. So I was browsing through YouTube the other day and came across a Booktube channel I had not watched before, but it was called Danni Dabbles, and she was announcing a upcoming readathon that she is hosting. It officially goes November 15th to December 15th. It is called the BucketList-athon. Basically, the books you want to get to by the end of the year. It is dedicated time to read through those books. And she has created a game board, I'll put it right here, that you play through during that month, and each square on the board is a different reading challenge. And I was like, well, I'm not looking for reading prompts through the rest of the year. I've got a TBR set for myself for the end of the year. But I could do with some stitching prompts, and I bet I could switch some of these over. And I have. So looking at this board that she created, I chose the 10 that I could easily make into stitching prompts. So for 10 days, I'm going to pick one each day. I'm going to use a tiny decisions wheel and choose one for each day, and then work on a project that fits for that prompt. And that's what this vlog will be. So I'm going to go over the 10 that I chose now, the 10 reading prompts, how I'm turning them into stitching prompts, and then I'll choose my first one for today, and then each day I'll check in with what I have selected for the challenge for that day, what project I'm going to be working on, and then I'll show the progress that I get for that day. So let's get through this list. All right, so first challenge, a book recommended by a friend. To change this into a stitching prompt, I'm going to choose a pattern that I started stitching because I saw someone else stitch it first. So this could be, something I saw in a whip parade. This could be someone like recently purchased and started this. Like if I follow them and I was like, oh, if I am inspired by them stitching it, then I started it, that would fit the recommended by a friend. Prompt number 2, a book you want to finish by the end of the year. This then would become a stitching project that I intend to finish by the end of the year. So it doesn't have to be something that like I finish for that day, but just like by the end of the year, I kind of, fingers crossed, expect to have it done. Challenge number 3, a comfort read. So to change this to stitching, I think that this would be a project that I always find is just very comforting to work on. It's soothing in some way. Maybe the whatever's in it is very comforting, cozy, something like that. Challenge number 4, an intimidating read. This, I'm going to choose a project that in some way is intimidating, or there's something where like maybe I made some sort of error in it and I just have been putting off going back to it, like I have to figure out what I did wrong, or their pattern is particularly complex in some way, something like that. Okay, prompt number 5, backlist. So in reading, this would be basically anything that's not a new release. So for backlist for stitching, I'm going to say that this would be a project that I started previous to this year. Okay, next one is a buddy read. And again, this one for reading is basically when it's when you like read a book along with a friend. So it's sort of like you would do that with a book club, but it's more of on a smaller scale. Like you and a friend are both going to read the same book and then you'll talk about it. That's a buddy read. So for stitching, I'm going to say that this is a sale. Anything that I'm stitching while someone, doesn't have to be specifically like I know someone particular person, but a stitch that is part of a sale is going to count for the Buddy Read Challenge. Next one is a book by a favorite author. This I'm changing to a project by a favorite designer. I don't have one particular favorite designer, but I'm going to choose either someone I've done multiple patterns by, someone I have like multiple charts like in stash by. Yeah, someone I always like their stuff. Okay, next one. We've got 3 more. Next one is paperback edition. So, oh, hold on. Okay, I think we're pretty much back to where we were. Okay, paperback edition. So for this one, so most of the patterns that I work off of are digital patterns, but I do have a growing handful that are paper charts. And so I'm going to choose one of my projects that I have a paper chart of for this challenge. Second to last one is a new purchase. So this will be a project that I purchased the pattern for this year. And lastly, a hyped read. So this for stitching, I'm not sure that we really have like hyped patterns the way that the book community has hyped books, but I'm just going to go with one that I've seen around a lot. I've seen several people stitching or wanting to stitch. You know, something that keeps popping up like in the Instagram algorithm or something like that. Something I've seen on a lot of Booktube channels. That'll be the hyped read one. So those are the 10 challenges that I took from the Danni Dabbles BucketList-athon reading prompts, and I'm going to be changing into stitching prompts because I feel like it. So also, I will have her channel linked below, and I will have her video explaining her readathon below. If you want to use her game board for some end of the year reading, or if you also want to turn some of these into stitching prompts for yourself, you're of course free to do that as well. So let me choose which prompt I'm going to be starting with for tonight's stitching. Starting out strong, I like this. So for the Buddy Read Challenge, this is going to be a project that is part of a sale. And so I have chosen Palestine Valentine by the Halima Project. This is part of the Stitchers for Palestine sale. This sale includes any pattern that is supportive of Palestine. So this is can be found on the Halima Project's Instagram. It is one of their free patterns. So I will link their Instagram in the description below. And I am very excited to be working on this one for the first one for this stitching challenge vlog.
Okay, so this is how far I got for day 1. I've got all of this here at the bottom put in. This chart does have 2 colors, but I don't have the accent color right now, so I just continued with the primary color. And I am pretty pleased with my progress here. And I will see you tomorrow for the next challenge.
For day 2, I got the prompt favorite author, which I am changing to favorite designer. And as I mentioned before, I do not have one favorite designer, but the designer I chose for this prompt for what I'll be stitching on today is Allerton Embroidery, because I can say that they're my favorite full coverage designer. Now, they don't do just full coverage. They do have a pretty good variety of patterns available. I will link their Etsy store. But what I love so much about their full coverage, and specifically, they have a pretty good size series where they've taken famous paintings and converted them to cross stitch. And it's the perfect mix of blocks of color and design that for me makes full coverage stitching so much more accessible. And they even have, I'm not sure it's for all of them, but for a good number of them, multiple versions of the pattern, so you can choose the level of detail that you want, which is absolutely brilliant. So today I will be working on Starry Night by Allerton Embroidery. This is what I have so far. Now this one I will say there's more confetti-ish stitching in this one than some of their other patterns that I've done, but it's just obviously gorgeous. So this is what I'll be working on today. I'll show a close-up picture when I decide like which section I'm going to be working in today so you can more clearly see the progress, but overall this is where we're starting. Today's spin was intimidating read, and so I'm choosing a project, or I have chosen a project, I'll show you in a second, that is in some way intimidating. So the project I chose for today is actually another piece for Palestine. It's called Whoever Stays Until the End by Crafty Yams. This is what I have of it so far. It's some words in the middle surrounded by a border. So this, it is based on a photo from it was written on a whiteboard in one of the hospitals in Gaza. I'll find which hospital it was. It's based on this photo, which became this photo. I'll explain why I chose this one in a second, but as I do, every day, I saw a video on that posted from Al Jazeera English, and there were two little girls, and they looked to be about the age of my niece and nephew, and I looked at them, and all I could see were my niece and nephew. The older one was carrying the younger one on her back. The younger one her leg was in a cast, so she couldn't walk. And so her older sister was carrying her because there was no one else to carry them. So, okay. We're going to sit together in this for a minute. And we're going to do that together for a minute. So this piece, I am stitching it on Aida. I stitch all of my projects on Aida. It's charted, however, really to not be stitched on Aida, because part of it is meant to be stitched like over one, and part of it is meant to be stitched over two. So the words in the middle are charted for over one, and then the border is charted for over two. I didn't realize that at first. I probably didn't notice it or realize what I was looking at, because you'd come across that more likely, I would think, in sampler stitching, and I don't really do sampler stitching. So I didn't really realize at first that when I cut my fabric to be the size I assumed I needed, but then was stitching it like, on Aida, that it might actually not fit in the size fabric that I cut. Now, the borders on the edges are wider than the borders on the top, so I might do the top and bottom borders also on the sides to save myself some room for margins. Now, what I think I'll do, because originally my thought was I'll just work on, the words in the middle. But since the intimidating part of this is because I might have to, finagle some things for size, because I didn't realize the way it was charted. What I might do, because this is the edge of the right side of it, what I might do is see how much room I'll have if I do the border as charted, and then decide from there. But yeah, so it will say, you may not have been able to read the picture. It will say, "Whoever stays until the end will tell the story. We did what we could. Remember us." So that's what I'll be working on tonight.
So this is what I've done. So I did the width of the border basically in half stitches, so I could easily take it out if I needed. And I'm okay with the margin just being like that, so it will fit on this side. But then the issue is, will it also fit if I finish the words over? Will it also fit on this side? And then the other issue, of course, is that because this is all, you know, a little bit off since I'm doing it not quite how it's charted. So this is what it looks like. Is the border gonna line up? Like, and it is the kind of, like, especially the outside border, I could kind of fudge a little bit, you know, like add a stitch or two to the height or the width to make that work. But like all the other borders, like, will it be even? What will it look okay? I'm not sure how to judge what this is going to look like. And I'm not sure the best way to go about testing it other than just doing, you know, parts of it in half stitches to just see where I'm at and then fill in everything else. Like if it fits okay, like, so I think what I'm going to do for tonight is just continue with the words, maybe see if I can get to the side, see how this side border fits. But if you were in this situation, and I realize that maybe you wouldn't be, because maybe you wouldn't be stitching it on Aida like this. But if you were, how would you go about this process of figuring out how this is going to fit together?
The prompt for today was recommended by a friend, which I am using as a project I'm working on that I started because I saw someone else working on it first. And so I looked through my current WIP list, and I think there's probably only one that applies to. I don't remember for sure since I started this one in 2020, but I think so. I'm pretty sure. So, and that is Advent Animals by Brooks Books. So I started this in May of 2020, and with the goal of doing like a square a day. So there's, actually I don't know if there's 24 or 25. I think there's 25 squares through, you know, for December. And the goal throughout the month of May was to do like one a day and like see how far I got. Well, I got 1 through 20 complete and then part of 21. And since then, it's maybe a few stitches a year. So this is where it's at. And like, it's so lovely. It's such a lovely piece. Now, if I were to have started this today, I would not have done it on oatmeal fabric because there are a lot of like snowflake stitched in there and such, which are not gonna show up really. Like you can see them like in person if you're close. So like if I were the stitcher I am today, no, I wouldn't have done it on this, but it's still cute. It's still real cute. And I'm close enough to being done with it that it's like, and okay, so to be honest, I hemmed and hawed about this one a little bit because it is, as you could probably tell from my description of it, it's an inactive WIP. So it's not a UFO. In reading terms, it's not a DNF, but I never work on this. Now, part of that reason I didn't work on this, or I haven't worked on it much, is that, so in 2020, when I was stitching this, you know, I didn't have the floss stash I do now. So basically there were a few colors that I did change to like a very close similar color that I did have. Now, which colors that was, where that list is, I don't know. I don't know. So it would be slightly different. You know, this bottom row is going to be a little bit different, but it's not like it's the kind of project where like you could necessarily really be able to tell because they are all individual pieces, you know? Like there's, you know, you're going to use, you know, the same green, the same like 3 greens in each of them, but at this point, it doesn't matter. So I think what I'm going to do tonight though is finish the white and red outlines for the remaining boxes. I think that's going to be, I don't usually have like a stitching goal for each of my days, but I think that's pretty, it's, you know, it's, I don't have to really worry about color. I assume I use the same red, but honestly, who knows? Not me. So that's what I'm gonna do today. So Advent Animals for today's project. Okay, it's like 2 minutes later, but you are never gonna believe this. So I'm looking through my phone to find the because of the digital pattern I have for Advent Animals. I found the list. I cannot believe I found the list. I changed every color. I don't know if it's every color, but I'm glad I found it. Okay, see this is a good sign. This is good. This is good. Okay. Today's challenge, it was new purchase. And so I decided to go with the pattern that I've bought the most recently that I've already started. So I have bought patterns since buying this one, but I haven't started those yet. So we're gonna go with this one. So this is called, it's called The First Pride, or First Pride, by Taylor and Cromwell. So it's gonna look like this. And this is what I have so far. I think I'm holding this correctly, yes. So this is what I am working on today.
So this is how far I got on the first Pride. I am very pleased with my progress for today. So I am excited to see what tomorrow's challenge will be. Careful, please. Thank you.
Good morning. So my light isn't working, but honestly, I think this is fine. Okay, so today's prompt was hyped read. And so I was looking through my whip list for like to try and determine whatever my most popular pattern that I'm working on would be. And honestly, I'm not sure that there is one. Which honestly, again, people are always going to stitch what they want, and we are so lucky to have so many designers that it's hard for any certain pattern to get, you know, hyped or popular at any certain time. Like there are certain sales that you see a lot of people doing, but I'm not working on one of them. So anyway, so what I decided was to go with a project I'm working on by a popular designer. Now, again, that's also subjective, but someone that I see people doing their patterns more often. And so looking through my list, I determined that for what I have currently in my whip list now, that would be Night Spirit Studio. So today I'm going to be working on Greetings from Beyond by Night Spirit Studio. So I'm pretty close to a finish on this one. I think it's just black in this section here and then down a little bit across this corner that needs to be done. And it may be hard to tell, but what's interesting about how I'm doing this one is that as it turned out, which I honestly didn't intend to do it this way when I started, but then it worked out so well. I was like, this very good idea. So the candles are with 2 threads, and then this kind of misty, like, hello, greetings from beyond, that's with 1 thread. And like I said, it's a little bit, you can maybe tell that like this black is thicker than this black, and like the, what, you know, you can kind of tell in comparison. But I just love that, like, as it turned out, I had that idea and it just worked with the theme of this piece. So Greetings from Beyond by Night Spirit Studio I'll be working on today. So I was working on Greetings from Beyond today by Night Spirit Studio, filling in the black, and I got this far, and so I keep my floss in bags. Ran out of 310, so, but I have a cone of 310. I don't know where it is. I can't find it. I have looked. I don't know where it could be. I'll pick up like another skein of 310. Like, it's got to be somewhere. So I'm gonna get some more of this tomorrow. But for tonight, since there's only black left in this, this is where we are for this one. So I decided to spin the wheel again. And as you can see, I got paperback edition, which I am translating to a project that I'm working off of a paper pattern for, since most of my projects I use digital patterns. And so I looked through my whip list, and as it turns out, I'm only working on one right now from a paper pattern. So, and that is Brew Crew by Counting Puddles. This was a market release this year, and actually was part of my very first market order. So I am working on this on it's similar to the Called For fabric. I am using a 16 count Whimsy by Picture This Plus, and this is what I have so far. And so I think tonight I'm going to work on filling in the rest of her hat and then her hair. Don't worry, I've checked, it's not actually black, it's actually a very dark blue. So I'm going to be working on this for the rest of tonight.
So there is a little bit more to be done on the hair, but that is where I'm going to leave it for tonight. I am pleased with my progress, and we'll see which prompt I have for the next day.
We are nearing the end of this challenge. I've got just 2 more prompts after today's. What I spun for today was a project that I plan to have finished by the end of the year. So I went with one that I am pretty sure is the one that is closest to a finish, and that is Owl by Sam X Stitch. I started this one in February as part of the Superb Owl sale, and I've got just the eyes left. So I don't know that I'll finish it today. It's certainly possible. There's not much left, but it's not necessarily the goal, but it might happen. Either way, done by the end of the year. So this is what I will be working on tonight.
I did it. It's finished. I think it looks so nice. And I'm very pleased to have a finish.
My second to last prompt for this challenge is comfort read. So that would be any pattern that is anyway comfy and cozy, always a pleasure to work on. And so I'm going to show you what I'll be working on today. But I will say that the Etsy shop I bought it from realized afterward that they probably did not like properly license the artwork for it. So I'm not going to say which Etsy shop I got it from, but it is a dollhouse pattern. And so this is what it's going to look like. And this is what I have so far. I've been doing it one room at a time. So I'm going to be working on this bedroom up here. And so why this piece for this prompt? So I have always loved dollhouses, and I know that that is because when I was little, my grandma had a dollhouse in her basement that I remember really enjoying playing with. And there are some dollhouses that are very elaborate, and I love those, but the one that she had was very simple. I think my uncle made it, but as simple as it was, I remember very much enjoying playing with it. So I've loved dollhouses since then. So I'm going to be working on this dollhouse piece here, and I will show you my progress by the end of the day. So I'll be in this top room. Same dress, but it is the next day. So I worked a lot yesterday on my dollhouse project, and I was not expecting to, because before picking that one for sure, I was like, maybe I work on my temperature piece, because I had felt like I wanted to work on that. But I was like, no, the dollhouse is more for the prompt. I was like, I'll do the dollhouse for a little bit and then switch over to the temperature piece. And no, I worked on the dollhouse like all day. Not all day. Like, I did go vote in the morning. I'll talk more about that later. But I got a ton of progress on the dollhouse. So this is a picture of what the room I was looking on worked like yesterday. And this is what it looks like now. So I am so pleased with all I got done for this. Lots of progress on this one. This is on 20 count. It's one of my few projects that I have on 20 count. I think I started stitching on 20 count last year. And I like it so far. I use one thread when I stitch on 20. So this is what I have as for the full piece progress so far. And I'm really pleased with how this is coming along. And it is cozy, and I do really like it. So by process of elimination, the last prompt then is backlist. So I chose a project that I started previous to the current year. And actually, as I was looking at my whip list this morning, projects that are still whips that I started previous to this year, I've got 9. And I've got 15 that I've started this year. So there's actually more from this year than there are from the previous years combined. So anyway, today I will be working on a project that I started in 2021. It is Christmas Tree Lights by Julia Studio Design. And so I will say it does not appear that she is still designing. The Etsy store is no longer active. I have Googled multiple times. I cannot find this piece. So if you are interested in it though, you can message me on Instagram with your email and I'll email it to you. So this is what it looks like. This is what I have so far and what I will be working on today. I am so pleased with my progress today. So from here up is now all filled in. I am so glad at that. It looks so good. I really do like this one. So it was a very good one to finish the challenge on. I'll do a wrap-up clip that I'll film tomorrow, and then we'll be good to go. And that is a wrap on my reading challenge turned stitching challenge. I think it went really well. I did not do 10 days in a row, but I finished all 10 days that I wanted to accomplish. And I think it was a really good and fun way to get myself back into the groove of stitching after the summer where I don't stitch as much just in that season, at least the past few years. So I'm going to go over quickly the 10 projects I worked on. They're not going to be in any order. I just kind of stacked them up as I grabbed them. So I'm going to show you where I ended on all of these. And then a small note will be at the end if that intrigues you to keep listening. So first we have, fold it this way, Starry Night. Well, you can see the whole thing. Starry Night. I worked up here. And then, let's see if I can remember the names for all these. This is, so that was on 18 count white. These are all on Ada. This is Brew Crew. And this is on 16 count Whimsy by Picture This Plus. And then on 18 count Curry, we have Greetings from Beyond, or Greetings from the Beyond. Almost done with this one. And then on, I'm gonna say 14 count white, we have my finish, which was Owl. And then on 20 count white, Whoever Stays Until the End. And then on 18 count Oatmeal, we have Advent Animals. On, I'm gonna say 18 count Black, we have The First Pride. And then on, this might be 16, maybe 16. I'll have to check. On white, Palestine Valentine. And then on 20 count white, Dollhouse. And last one, Christmas tree lights on 18 count black. So I loved that I got to work on so many projects. I feel like I made very good progress with each of them. It wasn't the same amount of progress for each project, but I do feel good. It was a noticeable amount, and so I feel good about that. So, the note at the end. So I am recording this. Today is Monday, November 5th. So if you're watching this on Wednesday or Thursday, fingers crossed, you know something I don't know. I am still in the before times of our election results. And so what I want to say is that either way, no matter what, the important thing will always be community building, community support, sharing education and resources. And I want to say, especially to our cross-stitching and floss tube community, that if you feel that you are a part of the online, cross-stitch community, if you have felt inspired by it, if you have benefited from it, we have something that a lot of people find meaningful and generous and friendly and welcoming. And so if you feel that, I want you to let that inspire you to expand that community to other communities that you can build and nurture in your life. It's a very good example of a group of people with a common interest supporting each other. And that's what we need. So, yeah, I'm in the before times for another, 48, 36, 72 hours. We'll see, but we'll be a community as well.